Beneath the silent crown of blackened stone, where wind carves the names of the dead into ash, there lies a ruin the world chose to forget. Not because time erased it, but because memory turned its face away. A place once called Stronghold Fortress Home. Now only whispers linger in the hollowed chambers. Smoke curls through broken archways. Fire still burns in the bones of the throne hall. And in the heart of ruin, half buried in soot, stands a single shattered sword, plunged deep into the cracked stone of a forgotten seat. It waits, it rusts, it remembers. Because when the king died, the mountain fell silent. But fate does not rest. Not here. Long ago, this land echoed with drums, chants, the thunder of marching unity. The Orcish realms stretched across the stone-blooded valleys and fire-washed peaks bound not by chains, but by oaths. King Grulmar, last of the Flameborn line, held the clans together, not with fear, but fire. His rule was law, but his law was balance. Trolls of the north, Uruk-hai from the wastes, deep goblins from underworld mines all bent the knee in one age-defining accord. The Horde was not one people. It was many bound by flame and vow. But every fire casts shadow, and every legacy sows envy. Betrayal did not come from the edges. It came from within. On the night the moon vanished behind smoke, King Grulmar was found slain. No banners raised, no armies at his door. No war, only silence. And in that silence, two sons stood above their father's blood. Roknâr, the elder heir by right. Vurmag, the younger heir by will. One forged by law, by restraint, by history. The other born of hunger, of storms, of ambition. They did not speak. The throne said everything. And as dawn broke, the crown did not pass it, fractured. The Horde did not break in one day. It unraveled like a wound that never healed. Clans once bound by iron oath now carved new symbols into their war paint. Tribes bled the land to mark territory, not kinship. Uruk-hai pulled their war engines into the mist, no longer answering the drums. Troll mercenaries, once protectors of sacred passes, now hired blades. Goblins, ever the opportunists, sold secrets, weapons, even blood to those who paid in gold or vengeance. And men, humans, lowlanders, exiles, smelled the scent of weakness and came not with treaties, but with steel. The great Horde became myth, then rumor, then silence. Villages burned under the banners of former brothers. Sons hunted fathers. Mothers led raids against sisters. Orcish strongholds, once symbols of might, turned to tombs. Temples were razed, names unspoken. The Flameborn line erased from the chronicles. And through it all, Vurmag rose not as king, but as something darker. A warlord crowned by chaos, followed by those who forgot what the Horde once meant. Roknâr disappeared into the smoke, wounded not in body, but in soul. The world moved on. The age of orcs had ended. But not everything stays buried. In the far corners of the land, where firelight still flickered on cave walls and old songs still echoed in cracked tongues, something stirred. Not an army, a whisper. The memory of drums beating in unison, of warriors shoulder to shoulder, not for power, but for pride. And in that whisper, Roknâr awoke not to claim, but to remember. Scarred, hunted, but unbroken. He did not carry a crown. He carried a story. And stories, when told again, can become fire. He found others. The forgotten, the exiled. Shaman once mocked for their visions. Blade masters who refused to burn the old scrolls.
Look what
Children
I found.
born between bloodlines raised in ashes. They carried no sigils, only purpose. They gathered not under banners, but around flames. They built nothing but remembered everything. This was not rebellion. This was remembrance. And from that ember a fire took shape. They marched not to conquer, but to reclaim. Not to reign, but to awaken. They did not seek the throne, they sought the spirit. And in the desolate ravines and haunted forests, other fires began to rise. Troll clans tired of bloodlust, goblins who remembered honor. Even Uruk-hai, bound in iron shame, began to turn their ears to the sound of the old drums. Unity did not return as a roar. It returned as a whisper growing louder. And now, the world holds its breath. The last march begins. Across scorched valleys and snow-choked passes, Roknâr leads not to take, but to heal. His blade speaks for the dead. His eyes reflect not vengeance, but burden. Vormog cloaked in fire and madness meets him with legions. This will not be a duel. It will be a reckoning. The final clash of memory against hunger. Of fire preserved against fire consumed. This is not just a war. It is a question. What is legacy? Is it crown and blood, or story and sacrifice? Can what was shattered be reforged? In the storms to come, mountains will fall, names will burn, and truths will be buried. But deep in the roots of the world, something eternal will echo. We are not fragments. We are not shadows. We are the children of the first fire. And even if the world forgets again, the ashes will not.